You had a blank weekend, so does that influence the thinking for this cup tie? Is there a chance that you could name your strongest available side?
Yeah, there's a chance. We've got a couple of injuries. Waiting on Ender Stevens. Come off in the game against Brighton at half time. No risks, and there's a couple others that we won't risk as well. But whatever team I said before that we select on Tuesday night, I believe it's going to be good enough. And it has to be good enough to win a difficult FA Cup tie.
What is the update on Stevens? Is it going to be a long-term thing, or? No,
it's touch and go. No, he'll be fit for Saturday if he misses Tuesday, and a couple of others. It's just no risk really, and that's been our policy right the way through really. If there's something really towards the back end of the season that's worth taking that, we'll consider it, but not here and not now. With quite a lot to play for, chance of getting into the quarterfinals of a major cup competition, and obviously league position where we are, and what we potentially can achieve.
You've talked about turning a good season into a great one. Is the FA Cup a good opportunity to do that?
I think that the sort of the attitude that I've wanted at the football club since I've walked through the door is everything is important. Whether it's a Monday to Friday, off the pitch, on the pitch, training, intensity of that, how they go about that, and everything. Pre-season games. Obviously pre-season games not the be all and end all is the result, but it's important we have that mentality running through your football club, and it wasn't, and obviously we've tried to change that. And the FA Cup, our record hasn't been great. I think when you look at it, we have changed the side, and quite drastically. First year at Bolton we did. Second year at Leicester, when we went quite far in the competition, we did. And obviously last year we made 11 changes. So I think when you do make that amount of changes, it really does upset the balance and the rhythm of the team. I think what we saw at Millwall, which is obviously a hugely tough place to go and get a result, is that we made changes, but it wasn't 7, 8 and 9, it was 3 or 4. So through injury we might do that, but through selection we want to be successful in every competition that we enter, and obviously we're away at a championship club and we will be looked at as favourites, and then you're eyeing a place up in the quarter-final, and then anything can happen then, and that's our target, is to get into the next round. It's going to be a tough tie on the night. There's many a championship team that's beat a Premier League team. I think what's given me great confidence and comfort is just the attitude of the group. And I think it was commented by Gary Rowett in the last round. They would have liked to have played a Premier League side, but I think they were a touch disappointed when they pulled us out of the act, because they knew what they were getting in terms of our attitude. And he commented on it before and he commented on it after. And I want to make sure that that's the same case with Mark Bowen at Reading on Tuesday night, and that is what we're talking about. So important, yeah, and we want to go far in the competition.
John Fleck's new deal was announced before the Brighton game. Has there been any progress on contract talks with other players?
Yeah, I believe so. Discussions between representatives and agents of those players and the club are ongoing. It's not always quickly done and got over the line. So I respect that the players want the best deals, or the agents want the best deals for the players. And I've said before, I don't have any feeling of any player that wants to play the football elsewhere. And if we did, then we would act on that. But as I said, the reason that we've offered these players contracts is that we want to build something on what's been a tremendous first season back in the Premier League. Reward and build, and offers will go out, and hopefully in time players will commit as John has done.
Sport over the last couple of weeks has been quite heavily affected by the coronavirus. Is it something that you've spoken to the club doctor about? Steve Bruce has banned handshakes up at Newcastle, and of course the upcoming international break as well. Is it something you've got any fears about?
I love an handshake. I love a firm handshake. I'm not fist pumping anybody. So other managers, other people will have different ideas. I'm not one of those managers that goes round and shakes everybody's hand in the morning, welcome to work and all stuff like that. I'm not into that, putting signs up, welcome to work. That's not for me. But when somebody needs an handshake, they're going to get a firm one, and I expect a firm one back. Obviously hygiene is important, and I'm sure players recognise that, and the doc's been on to the players in terms of making sure they look after themselves.
Chris, what did you do with your free weekend?
I'm not telling you. What did you do with your free weekend? A bit personal, isn't it?
Well, I was taking it in a game. Did you go and see a game?
I might have done.
Where did you go?
It's a standoff, isn't it?
Has it been useful though, having the week off, or would you like to have had a game?
No, I'd love to have played. I said before the winter break that we would have loved to have kept it going. And what I will say is that I thought the performance against Brighton was excellent, and sometimes the performance don't match the result, but that was one of our better performances of the season. Just the way we played, the relentless nature of the way we built up possession, and the way we attacked a difficult opponent who obviously changed their way of playing, which I've said all along, no issue at all with. And I thought we kept going right to the end, and I was really delighted. And I said sometimes, people look at a result before a performance. I thought that weekend I was really satisfied. The way the players come back, the way they worked away from here in that week, way they prepared for a really tough game in the Premier League, which they all are. They're all really tough encounters, physically and mentally. And I thought that, there was hardly a stray pass. That they just built momentum, and full credit to Brighton for hanging on in there and gaining what was a valuable point for them. And we were a little bit disappointed afterwards, but that was all it was. As I said afterwards in the presser, it was a tinge of disappointment. The team are on the right track. They're in a good place. They're playing well. Individually, they're playing well, and as a group, they are. And as I said, we've got a healthy group to pick from, which going into an interesting March, April, and a little bit of May. 2.5 months, really interesting, and it's really set up nicely.
Just 3 games in the end in February this year. Do you feel like it was disruptive, or it's re-energised, or how do you view it? Because obviously we've heard you speak before about the break and what that's been like.
I would have been all right either way. As seen, I didn't see any tired legs in terms of our performance against Bournemouth or pre-winter break, and we now have, obviously, with Villa getting into the Carabao Cup final yesterday, that has to be rearranged, and obviously there's a possibility that if both clubs get through to the next round, or one club gets through to the next round, the Manchester United game is going to be called off. So yeah, it's going to be a tough fixture list and schedule. Some midweek games chucked in there, obviously starting this week as well in the FA Cup, but we're ready for every challenge that's put upon us. And I've said my piece on the schedule. Teams have a lot more games than us. Liverpool have had a lot more games. Wolverhampton Wanderers have. Those clubs that have been in European competition, so possibly they have a different view on it. But I wanted us, from our point of view, and I'm not looking from their point of view. I'm looking selfishly from our point of view. We wanted to keep going, but we're into it now, and we've had another good week, and looking forward to tomorrow night.
Is that potentially something you're going to have to get used to if you do finish in the top 5-6 and do get into Europe next season?
Well, we'll deal with that when we have to deal with it, but it's sole focus on. And I think you've seen the results at the weekend, and if anybody that thinks anything about our football club thinks that any game's an easy game in this division, then they're on a different planet, because it isn't, and especially where we've come from, and how hard we have to work to gain every single point, and how well we have to play to gain every single point, and that's what's delighted me. We've been so consistent with it, and if we are consistent between now and the end of the season, and we show the same form, which I believe we can do, and there's no reason for me to think that the wheels are going to fall off from an attitude point of view, from a physical point of view, then points that we're going to get, we're going to be in a good position.
Because clearly you'll be devastated this morning to be down to 8th in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's something that I was looking at the weekend and looking at different results and wanting them to go one way or the other, and I just think, as I said, you just look at the division. It's such a tough division, and some fabulous results down at the bottom end of division, and I should imagine, bookies and everybody else thought that we would be involved in that scrap. So delighted that we're not. We've got our own goals now. We've got our own views and ideas, is to keep it going and keep picking up points. But it's not a nice position to be in. I've been in that position before as a manager, and you win a game and somebody else wins and somebody else wins, and it sort of flattens you a little bit. But as I said, there's some brilliant results. The Norwich result, the Watford result, the Bournemouth 5 minutes off beating Chelsea. So I think that just shows you what the division's all about, and really important from our point of view to stay focused, stay honest in our performances, and don't look too far ahead. And certainly that's something that I can control, and I will. And something that I can't control, obviously, from our supporters. But expectation levels have gone up, and I understand that, and I'd rather they have gone up because of results that we've got, position that we're in, and it's something that we'll have to deal with. And if I feel it is getting too much, then I think people have recognised that I would comment on it.
I would like to see Panos Ratsos or Richero Zivkovic this week for the first time.
Yeah, they'll be involved. Yeah, it's good that both of the boys have been pushing hard. Obviously, Panos has been on the bench, but former Basham has been outstanding. We've got really good options at the top of the pitch. The skipper's, taken his chance tremendously well. His general all-round play is excellent, and everybody knows that in and around the box he's a natural finisher. We've got David McGoldrick coming back in. Lise Mousset. So we have to make decisions as well. I have to make decisions looking at them from Monday to Friday. I know it's quite easy at times for supporters to look and go, well, why didn't he do that and why didn't he do that? But there's certain aspects of the game that are suited to certain individuals, and looking at the week that leads up to the game is important, that who I feel and think can make a difference, and they're all training really well, and they're all giving me a massive headache, which, as I said all along, is something that I have to embrace and get on with and deal with.
Is it easy to deal with, though? Because, like you said, you had a big squad anyway. You've added a few before the window, and just to give all the minutes and getting the balance right, particularly when you've got a cup game, and there will be a temptation that you can change a few things. Yeah,
I've got to make the right decisions. I've got to pick the right team for the right occasion, and I know that I won't make 11 changes or 7 or 6 changes. But looking at injuries, looking at individual games as well, I think you have to keep an eye out on your schedule as well, of what might suit one game that might be better to play in this particular game, and that might be better for the next game as well. So there is planning. And it is difficult. It's not easy because everybody wants to play. In terms of numbers wise, it's a 25-man squad, and everybody in the division has that ability to construct their squad at the start of the season. And I'm the same as any other manager, and I've got some really talented players that are not playing at the moment, but they understand that, part and parcel of being a professional footballer.
You mentioned the skipper there. Have you had a chance to hear one of our own podcasts that the club's put out over the weekend?
No, because I was busy at the weekend.
Okay. Well, we've already touched on. We won't go further into that one.
Do you want any more details on the weekend?
No, not at all.
Is that the way you're going around it?
Very open, Billy Sharp, as speaking about some really, really tough times in his career. I mean, what does that say about him as a character and a leader within the group, and his significance to what you're trying to do here?
I think the attitude of all the group is refreshing in a time where a lot of Premier League players and clubs are very, very guarded and don't want to open up, and that's something that again we try to change, but that comes naturally from the skipper and how he is and what the personal experiences he's been through. And there's only we're all human beings, and we're all working. We all have issues off the pitch and situations that we have to deal with, as well as situations on the pitch. So it's not straightforward for anybody, and it hasn't been straightforward for the skipper. And I think he deserves an enormous amount of respect the way he handles himself in the city. I've always said this. It's a proper football city. We always talk, me, Billy, and from our point of view, back in our football club. And it would have been the same the other way around, but there has to be a respect as well, and I do believe there is a genuine respect for Billy in this city. There might be a small percentage of idiots that don't, but there's certainly the way he handles himself, the way he gets on with his job, the way he represents not only his football club but his city as well. He should take an enormous amount of credit, and he's playing Premier League football, and I'm sure that a few years ago that would have been a long way off, but not just, as I said, on the pitch and off the pitch for Sheffield United, but just as a citizen of Sheffield, the way he goes about his business.
Midweek ties in the FA Cup, the round this year, first time it's happened. Are you a fan of doing it that way?
Well, not had much experience really getting this far in the competition, but it is what it is, isn't it? So we have to deal with it. We just, whether it's a night game, and obviously the landscape of football's changed now, and it completely. Third round of the FA Cup every January, Saturday afternoon, whatever. Semi-final ties played at neutral grounds. Won it at Wembley. TV times have all changed that, and which I understand. And the fixture list and the way everything's scheduled, it's all changed. So you have to move with the time. So it is on a midweek, and we have to get the job done. Whether it's a Saturday afternoon at 3:00 or it's an 8:00 down in Reading. You've
done well, obviously, so far, getting through two teams that you'd have expected to beat. Is the key again about that mindset going into it and not taking Reading lightly?
Yeah, as I said to Tim, it's straightforward, full focused preparation. Not done anything on the opponents for Saturday. It's all been regarding Reading. It's a dangerous game. I don't like my teams being underprepared, and I don't like my teams having bad attitudes and poor attitudes, and I think they recognise that. And if players want to play in the back end of the season, this is another great opportunity for them to cement their position. And if we get beat, it's out of our control. If Reading have a great night and we have a poor one, technically or tactically, that can happen. But from the other two cornerstones of the game, from a mentality point of view and a physical point of view, we have to show up. And if, as I said, if it's their night, it's their night, and that happens. I think that's what everybody understands in cup competitions. It's about getting through the round, but we're positive. I know what I'm getting, and I think Mark knows what he's getting from us as well. And I know what Mark's got as well. He's got some very, very talented individuals and some players. That Championship is a tough league. We talked about it. We've been in it for 2 years. We knew how difficult it was, and they can turn any team over in the Championship, and they'll fancy the chances on as obviously not expected to go through to give it a right go on Tuesday night and get into the quarterfinals. It's a great opportunity for them as well as us.
Does it show how brutal the Championship is, really? I mean, they've been out of the Premier League 7 years, Reading. They've had 7 managers in that time just to try and find that formula to try and get back where you currently are.
Well, what, one penalty kick off a playoff win, and then all of a sudden manager goes, and next year, I think everybody realises and understands how difficult it is. When you get that close to getting to the Premier League, and you got to reset and go again in the Championship. You talk about Premier League teams getting relegated, and how many of them percentage-wise get promoted straight away? Not many, and some slide right the way through, and especially, as I said, from a playoff point of view as well, the sheer disappointment, how long it eats into your end of season as well, and how much it eats into your pre-season as well, and it is really difficult from that point of view to kick-start again and go again in the next year, and obviously it has been difficult for them over the past few seasons.
There's lots of things people look for in football, records and money and Europe and all this kind of stuff, but is it still very much about trophies?
100%.
And there's a great opportunity here that you could win a trophy.
100%. Winning games of football, said traditionalist, everything else comes with it. The be all and end all is proving yourselves on that pitch in any game, and whether it's a league game, whether it's a cup competition, and I don't know why we shouldn't talk about being a potential finalist. We still got huge challenges ahead of us, we understand that, but you know what, we're in the last 16 of the cup competition, so and anything can happen, but it only happens if we get it right on Tuesday.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Adam.
Am I right in thinking you were at Wembley in 2014 and Old Trafford 2003 for the semi-final?
Oh, I've had plenty of heartache, mate. Don't worry about that.
No, but I'm thinking, what would that mean to you? If
Have you not
could be
followed this
involved?
football club for the last 25 years?
But were you there? That's what I'm.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Is that the thing that, not missing from your CV, but a deep cup run like that, is that the one thing that really would tick a big box for you?
Well, to achieve getting into the Premier League obviously was brilliant for the football club, and what we've done over the past 2 or 3 seasons. From a personal point of view, I'm not bothered, just up to the next challenge. And it's an opportunity, of course it is. Yeah, we've got a Championship club away on Tuesday night. I can't dress it up and say anything different. It's an opportunity, but it's an opportunity for any one of those 16 clubs to progress into the next round. And as I said, I've got quite a long memory, and I'm looking at a couple of lads that I know play for Chesterfield, and how close they were to getting through to a final as a Division 1 side. The old third tier. Yeah, old third tier. So it can happen, and it can happen to us, but we have to, no mistakes, error-free game on Tuesday night, and if we do that, then there's a good opportunity for us. But we have to be right. But I'm looking at my players, and they're at it, and I'll be very surprised if the attitude is not absolutely bang on, because that's something that we drill into them all the time, and especially for games and nights like Tuesday night.
People do knock the FA Cup, but you speak to United fans at the moment, and they're excited. They can feel it, and it's still got it, hasn't it, the competition?
Well, that's what you want from all your supporters, don't you? They want that. They don't want the other side of it, mid-table, obscurity or whatever in any division, and that's what football supporters want. They want that excitement, and you're looking at it now, and what we've got 11 league games left, and we've got an opportunity to get into the quarter-final. So rightly so, there should be excitement, running through the football club, from supporters to office staff to players to managers, and it is. It's good. We've got to this position. Nothing changes though now, and it won't, as far as I'm concerned. But they should be. They should be excited and looking forward to the next challenge in the next game.
It must encourage you as well, just the response you got at Millwall, because I know you had the 5 points you put up for them in the dressing room, and they ticked every single one, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Gary Rowett talked about it before and after was complimentary, and that gave me a great amount of satisfaction. You know, people can talk and look at a football match and say how well players played and, you know, what they did during the game, but, you know, I should imagine you talk to a majority of managers and they want consistency in their approach and their attitude, and we accept, we all do, that we can get beat. There's no absolute guarantee of a result, but if you do turn up and your attitude's spot on, that gives you every opportunity of getting a result in every game. And I look back through our league campaign, and that's what it's done. The attitude has given us an opportunity to go and get wins and draws, and even in those losses, you know, they've been losses that take possibly one out of it, that, you know, we could have turned into a draw, and that's full credit to the players that their attitude gives them an opportunity every time they step on the pitch of getting a result.
Anybody else?
I just asked Chris, you've obviously got decisions to make about the loan signings in the summer. Is there a certain amount of English football you need to see them in so that you can make those decisions?
I'm not going to take the chance just because I need to see them playing in a game. They get into the team through an opportunity, whether I feel it's the right time to put them in, whether it's an injury or a suspension, or we need to change things up. They have to earn the right to do that. But that doesn't say that we won't take up their options in the summer if some of them don't play any minutes at all. We'll trust and back our sort of judgment in those individual cases. They're all, as we've talked about, all desperate to play and all want to play, but I don't want to be sat here after the game and go, well, that didn't work because we tried something out, and we have to be sure that I'm picking the right side and the best side for that night. And I've got, when I'm studying that technical area, I'm confident and sure that I've done that, and that will give us an opportunity of getting a result.
And I guess when you talk about consistency of approach and that sort of thing from your players, if you were to make 11 changes or whatever, that sends out a message to them. So it's important from you, isn't it, that even the team selection sort of sets that standard for them? Yeah,
definitely. I think, you know, just as I was walking down from the top building, you know, sort of looked back and looked at like I said, the first year. You know, we got beat at Bolton. We made 6 changes. The second year, we made 5 changes. The third year, we made 11 changes. So the amount of changes does obviously affect the flow and the rhythm. And yeah, sometimes it shouldn't do, but sometimes it might. But the message is, do I think that it's going to be the same team that finished against Brighton? I don't think so, because of a couple of injuries. But it'll be close. It'll be close, and it'll be a team that I expect to go well, and I expect them to win against tough opposition.
All good? Cheers, chaps.
All right.
Thank you.
Michael.